Hi, today we're going to be talking to you a little bit about teaching online. A lot of us are brand new to this. My friend Ty and I have been teaching over 20 years, each of us, and it turns out this is our first summer doing this full time. We just did a 6-week history class with over 80 students, and we found this to be one of the most enriching experiences of our entire careers. And we have 7 things we want to share with you in about 7 minutes that are going to help you that we wish someone had told us before we started. And now we're going to be talking about our learning management system that we're using is going to be Google Classroom. You might be using Edmodo or Blackboard or Moodle or Canvas or any of these different things, but the principles we're going to be sharing are all the same. What we used to be talking with our students live was Zoom. You might be using another thing, but all of the ideas are going to be transferable to any of these. Now, the very first thing you're going to need to do is figure out how to have a good internet connection. And your secret is to get your Ethernet cable, plug it into your modem, and then plug it into your computer. And this is going to save you all sorts of anxiety, wondering if you're choppy, if your video isn't working, your audio isn't working, or you're entirely being cut off. Use an Ethernet cable.
Ethernet cable is also important when you're downloading. When you're downloading, what we like to do is make sure that we get something that we're going to use in class. Try not to stream it off the internet. We actually download it on our desktop. Sometimes we will use this program, YouTube, to an MP3 converter. You can do sound, music. If you do an MP4, it's video and sound. You can see that in this particular app, there's on the bottom left, you can see MP3, MP4, you click that, and on the right, you can see that we downloaded a Red Dawn trailer, and you could download it. It's a great aspect when you share it to the kids. It's going to benefit you when you're presenting. The other thing you want to do before you start to share your screen, on the bottom left-hand corner, you can see this Share Computer Sound. Make sure that you click that so that the students can hear the sound and see the video as you're presenting it. Also, we love to do camera checks. And when the camera checks, the one thing about students is they're not always really willing to get on and present, but every once in a while, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, we will stop our lecture and ask everyone to have a camera check. We'll have the kids, turn on their cameras, sometimes maybe unmute and say something to us, but it's a great way, instead of having the kids on the entire time, which nobody really wants to do that, but we found that this would be a very effective way to take attendance and to be able to keep them accountable for paying attention.
Now, another great thing to do is if you're teaching the same class as someone else that you know, it doesn't need to be someone that's at your school. It could be anyone in the world because you're doing this online. Is if you're able to co-teach with somebody, it's going to save you, again, you're going to be saved just like that Ethernet cable. I can't tell you how many times I had an issue, something came up, and I'm like, Ty, I need you to take over, and he just took over, and vice versa. And we were able to bounce off ideas from each other, and there's so many things that went wrong over the last 6 weeks, but the kids don't know anything about it because we were able to plan ahead of time and solve a lot of these problems for each other. So co-teaching is also going to save a lot of anxiety.
It's great, especially when Tony might have started a video and the video, you couldn't hear it. Many times, students wouldn't say anything about it. They're going to wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes in the video and say, well, we never heard any of it because we couldn't hear it. Well, that's the best part about a co-teacher is once you start a video, you can pause and say, hey, can you see it okay? Can you hear it okay? And the partner will say yes or no, saved us multiple times. The one great thing about using Google Classroom is the aspect of being able to ask an opening question. Sometimes you have bell ringers at the beginning of class. What we like to do is have an opening question. So every single morning, we would be able to have a question that was asked to the students. And the great part about Google Classroom and other programs like this is that you actually can see students respond to it. Well, we like the idea of having a student see the question, respond, and then have students respond to each other. That was kind of an opening question for us, an opening activity for us. Then by the time they got into our class, that would be the topic that we would talk about. And it would be a great way to engage the students prior to actually starting our Zoom.
Another great idea is to reach out to people to see if they want to come in and be guest stars for your class. You can reach out to family and friends. You can reach out to graduates. And you can reach out to the students. Hey, students, do you have a family or friends that would want to come in that maybe work professionally in the field that we're talking about? If a history class that has served in one of the wars, or just about anything, the sky is the limit. People are more inclined to say yes than ever to be guests in your class, because all they have to do is sit down and press a button and they're automatically in your class. We had guests from calling in from Vietnam, from Paris, from Geneva, Switzerland, and then locally we had people on the East Coast came in. It's amazing to us the willingness people have to be guests and how much easier it is than actually having a guest in our own classroom. Now, one thing that we really liked doing after each one of the guests was having the kids fill out a Padlet. And it's super easy. We don't want to overwhelm you with a bunch of different apps. All you got to do is go padlet.com, and it's very user-friendly. You create a background and you send it out to the students. Tell them we want your name, maybe your picture, and something that you want to say to the guests, something that you want to thank them for, something that you learned from them. Our guest from the World Health Organization said that she's been doing this for 31 years, and the Padlet that we sent from our students was the most meaningful thank you that she's ever gotten from anyone ever. And so it takes almost no effort for the teacher, and it has great reward for your guests. And the students get to also see what each other have learned from the experience. Padlet.com.
When you rethink participation, you have to start thinking about how do you keep your kids engaged. And what we found out in 6 weeks was a lot of trial and error. But one of the things that we took from this is having the kids respond through the chat, the Zoom chat in our situation, maybe in a single word. A lot of kids don't always want to unmute, and sometimes they don't want to show their faces, but to keep them accountable and being able to access that after you have the kids respond, you can always save that file and see their responses.
All right, so I hope these 7 things have helped you guys, and let's make this the best year ever.